Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, sitting down to talk about Hogwarts Legacy. Now ladies and gentlemen, every time I sign into YouTube, I go to my Twitter timeline and it's just filled up with Hogwarts Legacy content. I go over to Steam, I see it's one of the top pre-ordered games and it's weeks out from launch at that point in time. And I'm just sitting there going, man, what is the big deal about this game? For the record, I am not a Harry Potter fan really at all. I haven't finished all of the movies, I haven't read many of the books, I know next to nothing about this series, so I was largely disinterested heading into the launch, but as I saw things picking up, I went, what is so special about this? I started digging through all of the information that's available online for the game, and then I had this thought of, hey, this would make for a great video. For those of you who are like me and don't know anything about Harry Potter, you can have all the information now, and for those of you who are already very familiar and need a bit of a hype primer, this video is for you too. So ladies and gentlemen, this is everything you need to know about Hogwarts Legacy heading into launch from the Harry Potter idiot himself. If you're new here, I wouldn't say if you're into Harry Potter content, consider subscribing because you're not going to see much of it here, but if you like reviews, I'm at least going to review Hogwarts Legacy, so subscribe for that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's start off from the top. This game is releasing February 7th for those who are willing to pay for the deluxe edition. It gives you 72 hours of early access. This is for the Xbox Series X and S as well as the PlayStation 5 and PC. Now, if you don't decide to pay for that, the game is coming out February 10th. Otherwise, if you're on the Xbox One and PS4, best wishes to you. You are waiting until April 4th, 2023. And then when it comes to the Switch, God bless the Switch fan base who's waiting on this one. July 25th. It's going to be fascinating to see how this game runs on that. I wouldn't hold my breath. But the more important question for at least folks like me is, do you need to know a lot about Harry Potter to get into Hogwarts Legacy? The good answer is no. Of course it helps to know the series because this game will be littered with Easter eggs. It will be more meaningful to you to explore the likes of Hogwarts, even though we've been able to do that in Harry Potter games of yore, such as Order of the Phoenix. You could roam Hogwarts itself, but this is a truly open world game, so there will be more meaning if you have studied up on the lore, so to say, but for those who haven't, it is not a prerequisite to get into this game. Hogwarts Legacy is set in the 1800s, meaning we are many, many years removed from the characters that define the series. There's no Harry Potter, there's no He Who Shall Not Be Named, there's no Ron Weasley, Hermione Granger, none of that, none of that. The only familiar faces you'll see are pretty rare, such as Nearly Headless Nick, but that list, as I said earlier, is very short. Now, the story itself is one that's written by the developing studio Portkey Games and does not come from J.K. Rowling. You play as a student who has received their acceptance into Hogwarts a bit late, but it turns out you have an affinity for ancient magic. Now, at the start of the game, you'll be able to select one of the four houses that you're already familiar with, being Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff, and you can actually do this early over on the Wizarding World website if you wish to import those choices from there. Now, choose wisely because once you do so, it has been confirmed that this is locked in, and each house has a specified common room that you'll gain unique access to depending on your choice, but there are also companions tied to each house, meaning that getting closer to them may be easier or more difficult depending on where you begin. For example, with Gryffindor is Natsei Onai, while over in Hufflepuff is Poppy Sweeting, and Slytherin has Sebastian Sallow. Each of these companions can travel with you on your various missions, and they have their own storylines too. Now, what's also great is this character is not preset, it's you. You get to create your own character here, and it features a robust set of options. For example, you can customize your looks, your complexion, your voice, your body type, and so on. You can refer to yourself as a witch or wizard, and it is said by Portkey that it will take about 35 hours to complete the main story for this game. Now, I did mention this game doesn't involve the Harry Potter you know and all of the characters that you know. What is the storyline though? Well, actually details are pretty scarce on this when I did some research. Now, of course, there are context clues that you can dig out of trailers, but beyond that, the actual confirmed knowledge that is out there is quite minimal. What we do know is there are two running plot lines. One has to do with your main character, who's going to be working with Professor Fig to research his ancestry and learn more about this ancient magic that they are capable of using. Sound a bit familiar? It's got some Harry Potter vibes to it, to say the least. The second plot line has to do with the Goblin Rebellion and how they wish to take over the Ministry of Magic. The main antagonist of the game is known as Ranrock, who is leading said rebellion, and Ranrock is actually getting some assistance from various dark wizards. Now, one of them is known as Victor Rookwood, and he is helping, but you don't know exactly why. But again, otherwise, details are fortunately scarce. I like that there hasn't been much said officially on the main story. I believe there have been leaks, so I'm sure there are people who are more privy to information than I, but I don't dive into those leaks and ruin the whole story for myself before playing. So that is the good news, that there is very little there. But what's more important to a lot of people, I imagine, is the playing of the game. What are you going to be doing in Hogwarts Legacy? And it's got a lot of different games that it can vibe with. In particular, one of them is Persona. You see, Hogwarts Legacy is an open world game. That's, by the way, not very Persona-like. But expect to bump into various locations from the books and movies. These are places like Hogwarts Castle, which is fully explorable, Hogsmeade, even the Forbidden Forest. You can fly throughout these various locations on your broom from point A to point B, which is just legit as hell, man. Look at this. And as you're a student, this is where the Persona vibes kick in. You're going to attend class. There are classes like herbology, charms, defense against the dark arts, or potions. Now, some of these classes do involve mini games. Again, Portkey has kind of kept that part of the game close to the vest. We've seen bits and pieces throughout big gameplay walkthroughs. Like, they've definitely been transparent about this game, but they haven't really shown the ins and outs of these classes and left at least some level of discovery here. Now, as you're attending these classes, you will go through the various seasons, and that too is truly exciting. As you progress deeper into the game and you're exploring Hogwarts itself, you'll actually be able to unlock hidden areas in certain rooms, but one room you may find of great interest is the Room of Requirement. Now, here is kind of your, if I were to draw a very thin line between the two, Fallout 4 settlement crosses with Chow Garden energy. Really interesting. Like I said, this game's pulling from a lot of areas and it creates its own identity through it. It's not just, oh, finally, Harry Potter RPG. There's much more to it. So what does the Room of Requirement allow you to do? Well, on the Fallout 4 settlement front, it allows you to customize the interior by conjuring items using materials that you'll loot in the open world and decorating said room. Now, you can change the size and placement of objects all over, big and small, and some of these materials that you need to create them can actually be farmed within the room itself. Now, when people first saw the Room of Requirement, there was a concern about microtransactions because it does take time for these things to be farmed. The answer from Portkey has been no. There's no microtransactions here involved with the game at all. It is literally just farming materials while you're out doing open world stuff. Within the Room of Requirement is the Loom, which you can use to upgrade gear by adding traits and stat bonuses to them. It's pretty simple. You can use upgrades like taking less damage from various enemy types such as goblins, dark wizards, spiders, trolls, and so on. You can also identify your gear from your inventory here in the Room of Requirement. Furthermore, this is where the Chow Garden vibes come in. You can rescue beasts and have them within the Room of Requirement as well, taking care of them. So it's kind of cute. I kind of like that. You know, the thing is with the Chow Garden Sonic Adventure 2, like, I dig the idea of it, but I never really fully connected with it because I think I came to that game too late. So will this be my moment to right a historical wrong and fall in love with a true Chow Garden-like mechanic? We shall see. But there's a lot to do here. This is, in a manner of speaking, your hub, where you can customize it, you can upgrade stuff, you can interact here, and so on and so forth. That's what you're going to do while you're resting. This game is an action RPG, and you should be aware of that because there's a lot of depth to it, it seems. For example, there is a talent tree that has over 50 different talents to unlock. There is the stealth talent tree, and this will improve your ability to sneak around with 4 stealth talents in total. There's the Room of Requirement, which we just went over, which has its own talent tree, and this can improve the abilities in the Room of Requirement. Now, there are 8 in this category. Perhaps what this does mean when it comes to the Room of Requirement is that we talked about farming materials. Maybe you get 20% more, then 30% more, 40% more, and so on and so forth when it comes to, again, getting those extra materials that you need to make stuff, improve stuff, and so on and so forth. There are core talents. This will improve your overall effectiveness according to the description at the bottom of the screen. And there are 17 talents here. So I imagine this is more like combat effectiveness, because in combat, you will actually earn XP and gain an overall level. And then there are 2 unnamed categories, which each respectively have 7 and 14 different talents. Now, what's important about the combat in this game is the spells, and there are many of them. In fact, IGN has a really useful list here that we're going to go over on all the spells that we've seen so far in the game. And if you're a Harry Potter aficionado, you may notice there are some pretty evil spells here, we'll just say. So let's get to reading. Also, I'm just going to say this now because we're getting into the spells here. If I mispronounce any of them, it's just definitive proof that your boy isn't the biggest Harry Potter fan, but I'm going to try my best, so here we go. There is Crucio, where they describe it as the spell inflicting excruciating pain on its target, which is why it's also known as the torture curse. Again, like I said, you may raise an eyebrow at that one. There's also Petrificus Totalis, which petrifies the target body. There's Rictus Sempra, which causes the target to laugh uncontrollably. This spell is used during duels to distract your opponent. There is Ridiculous, which allows you to use this against Bogarts to force them to take on another shape. There's Stupefy, which is in combat to stun opponents. This, if you've played any of the old Harry Potter third-person shooters, like for Deathly Hallows, they're just firing away spells left and right and going, Stupefy, Stupefy. None of that here, thank God. There's Loomis, which functions as your flashlight. Incendio, which is a fire spell. There's Avada Kedavra, which is a powerful spell that kills its target. We've actually seen this in action where it turns the enemies into just a clump of dust, so it's a one-hit kill with a long cooldown time. There's Protego, which of course is used to guard yourself from incoming damage. There's Wingardium Leviosa, which allows you to levitate small objects and animals up into the air. There's Accio, which will bring objects closer to you. Flipendo, which will knock a target backwards. There's another unknown spell that they mentioned here in the chart, which is an offensive one used during duels and battles that casts a red line from the caster's wand. And again, while it's unknown, it says that there could be a variation of the blue spark spell. There's Descendo, which slams objects or enemies down. And then there is Mysterious Magic, which again does tie to your character and learning more about it. So you may have noticed here some dark arts, some normal spells that you've seen the good guys use. What gives? Is there like a morality meter here or something like that? The answer is no. Like, you could be the good guy and use the dark arts. It's kind of weird because I think of like Knights of the Old Republic 2, where imagine I could use Force Crush after destroying the Jedi Council and just go, yeah, I'm the good guy here though. I mean, I appreciate the player freedom, but it would have been kind of cool to see them wall this off depending on your respective choices in the game. The good news is, however, that you can mix and match these spells for all sorts of combos that are mapped to the face buttons. For example, you could hit someone with the Wingardium Leviosa, float them up into the air while they're defenseless, pepper them with spells, and then use Descendo and slam them back down into the ground. What's also really neat about this game is that the physics are cranked up, as you'll see in combat. So it gets really wild as objects shatter into pieces and litter the battlefield, as well as characters bouncing all over the place. So it's a pretty packed game from top to bottom, from combat to scaling to exploration. And what's really interesting is, despite Portkey posting, ASMR videos and 30-minute gameplay walkthroughs and developer commentaries and tons of trailers, I feel like I've heard so much about this game, but what's really fascinating is there's so much to still be explored here. And I imagine for you Harry Potter fans out there, the diehards, there is so much that you can discover that only you will understand. But this is pretty much everything you need to know about Hogwarts Legacy heading into launch, and if you're interested, how you can gauge it. Again, I'll be trying to review this game. It all depends on getting the review code and trying to get impressions out, but I will figure something out. Fret not, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you're thinking about Hogwarts Legacy in the comments down below. Try to keep it calm and cool. I've seen some of these Hogwarts videos and they get spicy. So try to keep it calm and cool. And with that, take great care of yourselves. I will see you in the next video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.